There you go. Go ahead, my dear.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Annie. I have been coming to your sessions for a few months now, and I'm very grateful. My question is today, when we were doing the unburdening from our family, and I could picture my ancestors, I got to my parents, and my part said, we're not working with them, and moved around them sort of. And I was picturing this black tarry substance that we were putting into the fire, but like nothing, it went around my parents, like and this has been sort of a theme in sort of my work in IFS, that my parts don't want to deal with my parents specifically.
Okay.
And I would love to hear what you have to say about that.
Okay. So is this part still there? You know where you found it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask it if it's okay that I inquire a question from it? If it's okay,
Yes.
could I ask?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So let me know. This is a part of Annie, which is holding the ancestor burden. What are you afraid would happen to Annie if we go through the parents?
That we would have to have a relationship with my parents, that we would have to talk to them and be around them again.
Okay. And what is the consequence of having a relationship with your parents?
It opens us up to lots of pain and humiliation. Yeah.
I understand. And what is the consequence of that humiliation and pain for Annie?
I lose. I struggle with anxiety and depression, and usually those two things become unmanageable.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Does it make sense to you, Annie?
Yes.
Okay. Can you let it know that you understand why it wants to avoid to go to the parents? You understand?
Yes.
However, can you also say that you're not going to your parents? You're actually working with the pain that has been in your system due to parents. So you're not building relationship. You're not building relation with the parents. You're actually healing or working to heal all the pain that this part is holding to, which is now avoiding to work on. Does it make sense?
So the part is trying to avoid the pain that that we always feel from my parents.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
see if you can acknowledge it, saying, I understand why you avoid it. I really understand that you're trying to protect me from not feeling the pain while working with the parent.
Okay. Yes, that makes so much sense.
Okay. Okay. So now ask it a permission saying, would you be okay that follow up tomorrow? We go through the legacy burden, and we are not making relations with the parent, but we are taking the pain that could be there and releasing it for highest good. If it's okay for it to do.
That part is not ready to do that.
Okay. Ask it.
I
Yeah,
feel a
yeah,
lot of resistance.
yeah, ask when you understand. I know. Ask it. So, how are you feeling, Annie, now? Are you anxious or you are compassionate and curious?
I feel very compassionate towards that part, and I feel a
Okay.
little silly for being so angry that it wouldn't do the exercise correctly.
Can you let it know? Can you let it know? Can you
Yeah.
let it know? I felt that like that, but I understand why you are doing it. Can you let it
Yeah.
know?
Yes. I can.
Okay. And now ask a question again. Would you be okay that we do together? And we are not building relationship. We are actually helping to free the pain that we are all holding together.
Yes, that part is more receptive now.
Great. Can you thank it? Just thank it.
Yes.
Okay. There you go. So what I recommend you do tomorrow, I will post the recording. Okay. But tonight I'll let you can do. What you do is you redo, and if you still feel some resistance, ask the same question, saying, I understand we are not making relationship, we are actually healing.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yes. Thank you, Manu.
I make my sense. Bless you. And bless you for doing it. Now you understand how you can sometimes get caught into these parts, which are, it's trying to do good for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.
Margarita, go ahead, my dear.
I'm sorry, Caroline, do you mind to go ahead? I'm not ready right now.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, no problem.
I'll go.
Caroline, yeah, Caroline, go.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry, did you say you wanted me to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine with me.
Thank you.
Sure. Let me just put my hand down. And breathe for a second. Yeah. Okay. So okay, I'm going through a lot this past week, this month. But I originally was gonna explore the idea of shame, that I have a part that feels like a legacy burden related to slowing down or doing things differently than other people. But that wasn't the one that came up today. Really seemed to be focused on the message I got was, it's not okay for women to stand out or be unique. And then when you were talking about the whole idea of like individual desires versus cultural burden, it really spoke to me, because I feel like I've just contained a ton of internal conflict my whole life. And I recently did this exercise in an art therapy class where we were focusing on whether we were okay with certain emotions or not. And I noticed all of my conflicting parts just showed up, and it was really easy to see, like, wow, one part of me feels excited about joy and another part feels ashamed immediately.
Wow.
So it was really a neat way to kind of see, I guess, to understand how I feel on the inside, because even it was just represented with visual, like either X's or circles, and it just was so chaotic on the paper, and it really brought, I don't know, I guess it helped me understand a little bit better why it feels the way it does in my body. But the one that came up today, I could really feel in my chest. It felt like I had somebody standing, like with a boot kind of on my upper chest, close to my neck, and a pain in the back of my neck. And when I was there and in that space, I heard it say that women have less worth than men, and hold your breath and don't speak. Women won't ever be equal, so just accept it. And your needs will never matter. And then you asked, what does it fear? And immediately it said, you'll be killed. And then and then I was like, well, what, kind of shocked, but not really afraid. I was just kind of more curious. And it said, I fear that you will bring attention to us. And then when you asked about the origin, immediately it said all of us that came before you. And then when you said, is it ready to be free? There was a lot of anger from that part.
Mm-hmm.
Like we haven't tried this before.
Unknown trajectory.
Like it felt defeated. And I got really sad. And then when you were talking about horizon lines and stuff, it felt like I could hear this sort of chatter. Like I could tell it felt like there were herds of people like out there. And then it felt like there was this murmur of like somebody that was trying, like some people that were trying to still be like interested in the fact that I wanted to release it. They kind of stepped forward, and then it focused on them when you said like what things had been overshadowed because of the burden. And it was kind of like these few that had came forward in the group of people. They were like, look at what we've sacrificed. And then it was like confidence, creativity, individuality, freedom, artistic expression, magic, intuition, compassion, vulnerability. And then it was like, you said, how do we release it? And they said, show us that it's possible. Like demonstrate it, and maybe we'll let it go. So yeah, when you did the body work sound stuff, it was weird because right before it, everything was very, it felt very ancestral, like very old, like old times, lots of people, kind of peasant, sort of like, I don't know, like a long time ago. And when you were doing the sound healing, it was like I could see my mom carrying all of that. Specifically when you're talking about the, like what she had to carry, and that she didn't know. And then I just felt a huge amount of compassion because I think, yeah, pretty sure she carries like the same sort of inner conflict, but doesn't know what to do with it.
There you go.
Um,
Those were the exact words that came, that she is not aware, that you are aware. So
yeah, and it's hard. Like I see now when she spends time with me, and I show her like it's okay to be certain ways. It's almost like her inner kid comes out, or it's really kind of beautiful. And but I think when you were talking about the part before birth where the mother was scared, there was fear. I was the only daughter in my family, and I was born well after my brothers, and my mom was afraid because she had been through trauma as a child, and she was worried about my dad, I believe. And she said she always felt like she needed to make sure I was within reach because she was scared for me as a kid. And yeah, I don't know where I was going after that. I forget why I went there, but oh yeah, when you said something about a contract, like about the
God.
child, yeah, well, I feel like my mom felt very limited by religion. I think she had wanted a divorce very early on and couldn't because she felt trapped, and shamed by, you know, her family. Like she wouldn't even talk about the dysfunction because, and she doesn't ask for help because it shows weakness. Like all of it is just sweep it under the rug and put on a brave face, kind of, and still be hopeful. And like, I don't know, she's an artist, but she's trapped, and in a lot of ways I am too, or I feel that way.
But you,
And it feels like when you were talking about this contract of being born, like it feels like I'm supposed to figure this out, and it feels
free.
like a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, could I just have been feeling overwhelmed since I was born? Is that a thing?
Yeah. Because you came in. So now this is your soul,
Yeah.
right? And now there is you. Okay. And your soul is telling you this is your contract. And you got everything, even if this is so clear. So the parts of you, because those groups that did not come along, so what you do is you go back, they will all come along because they see now what happened to the others, and they will all come. So you free them up, all of them.
Yeah, it was like the ones that came forward were the ones that had made progress in their time.
There you go.
And were like, well, wait, like maybe this is somebody that can get some work done in that regard or something. I don't know if and then the other people felt like they sort of listened when the smaller
What?
group stepped forward,
There you go.
kind of like if they're willing to change their mind, then the other people would be too, but I don't know.
So you go back. So what you do is you go back. Now, as they will all come together, the thing is that you are the one who's carrying the burden.
Yeah, it's heavy,
Right.
man.
And as soon as you release it, it's over. You will
Okay.
free yourself up from it.
Okay.
So just remember to do what you need to do to keep yourself nourished, safe, taken care, so that you feel, how do you call, yeah, resourced, if I may use the word.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that, and I keep catching myself trying to
Your,
fill my schedule with things
well,
that
your
wouldn't allow.
nature. So
What?
nature, use your, I think you use your default mechanism is nature, okay?
Yeah, I know I've been talking for a long time, but I feel like I really need to share this because you just brought up nature, and I yesterday went out for a walk in the rain because my brain was churning, and I was like, I have pent up energy, and that always helped my dog, so I figured it might help me. And I went for a walk in the woods, and when I started walking in, it was pouring, and I was like, it'd be great if I could get some kind of sign today. Like things have been so tough, and then I was like, well, I said that out loud, so that'll never happen. And I kept hiking in the woods, and I ended up trying to keep the water on my left. I was like, if I do that, I'll eventually get back to where I started. But the body of water was a lot larger than I expected, and it ended up being a 10-mile hike. But on it halfway through, because I wasn't on trails, I was just walking through the woods on my own trail, and paying attention to just different things that I was seeing, you know, like if the trees were all bending one way, I was like, maybe it means to go that way. And then I ended up close to a highway. So I was like, I'm lost. And then I just took a left and kind of went back into the woods. And I said, well, yeah, I know I'm lost, but I'm pretty confident I'll figure it out. And I'm really just enjoying being in the moment. And when I said that, a coyote ran right by me, and I stopped dead in my tracks, and I took my phone out to take a picture, and the tree that I was standing next to had a rosary with a big white cross hanging from it, like in the middle of the woods. And I don't know what's going on, but it felt pretty significant. And yeah, I don't know. I just felt like I needed to share it out loud because it makes it more real that way. Thanks.
There's another thing which I recommend to you, but to others as well, if you want to do. I remember trying it with people when we were in one of Joe Dispenza retreat in Niagara, is hugging a tree. Hugging.
I hug them all the time.
It's beautiful. And so hug it till it wants you to be free. So it's not like you hug and then release. You bring it in and then you wait for the tree to tell you, I'm done, and you're go over. So you do that.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, and I've done that. And I have a tree. There's this tree that reaches out over the water, and it's at like a really strange pitch, and you can walk right up to it, and it reaches like a seatbelt kind of across your chest. So you can just put one arm right over it and hug it, and then if you lean into it, it has like its natural spring, so it rocks you in place. It's so beautiful. So yeah, I hug trees lots. Thanks.
Margarita, are you ready? Before you go in, let me answer a question. There was a short question. Laura, Laura, you've raised your hand. Okay, we'll wait for your turn. Margarita, are you ready?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So I've been waiting our session tonight. I guess, as you all know, after the terrorist attack, like massive terrorist attack in Moscow, we had on Friday, and I've been I've been crying for about like 2 days on and off, and I felt this. So what I've been working on during the IFS was cultural fear and suffering came up. Fear and suffering. And you remember I worked on the fear before. Yeah, I released quite a bit, but then this thing came up, and it's overwhelming. Now I think I released a lot with tears, so much that I meditated before our meeting here, so I kind of a bit come down, felt better, more balanced. And so the cultural legacy came up, but also ancestral, both, because they are kind of interconnected. Yeah, all this suffering through the wars and poverty, all this kind of very heavy stuff connected with fear. Stalin also came up with the terror and stuff for people, lots of fear. So it was a beautiful release. I was like, sorry, I forgot quite a bit of my, I used to speak well English. Uh, the body was shaken, during IFS. So I released quite a bit. But then when you were doing
Jennifer.
sound healing, the fear came up with my mother. So as an ancestral thing, I think. So the fear came up because we had a car crash when I was 1 year old. And so my mom covered me with her body, and she was in hospital in a bad form and bad shape. And I felt her fear of death, fear of losing us all. My dad was talking about it because he was looking after me. And then suffering came up, also connected to my mom, to my mother, after she died. All these years, I feel like she didn't die at that time, no, but she died 17 years ago. And I feel like I've been carrying on her suffering. I literally took it on me. And I still haven't let it go, or I didn't want to let it go, So it
Part of you doesn't want to let it go.
like dramatically changed stuff. And so that's what came up. Also, funny because what the cultural, I mean, I was concentrated, focused on cultural burden of fear and suffering. It's located in my thyroid. And my thyroid, I've been going through up and down with the doctor treatments. So at some point, it was in okay size, and then it was enlarged again, and then again it was smaller. Now it's huge. It's huge on another treatment. It's not basically new treatment, but they can balance this stuff for me. But I think it's also connected to my work with you since August. I've been going through very deep purging, emotional stuff, purging constantly. And I think I am healing, but because of but with meds, they cannot kind of find balance. So my body is not balanced with meds, which I'm taking, and my healing process, because the reaction sometimes is so quick on, like within few days on meds, I usually react very quickly, but now it's even accelerated. And I'm exhausted from this process because now it's really huge and heartbeat and all the symptoms and stuff. What I was talking about, the fear and suffering came up in my thyroid, literally thyroid, And then when I released the cultural burden, the fear and suffering, it came up as a scratching, really scratching on my left lobe of the thyroid, left side. And it's still there. And it's really kind of irritating. And I usually don't feel this kind of thing there. And I wanted to ask you.
It needs some work to release. It wants to express. So what you do is either you wait for the recording, or you just, after the session is over, ask it to say, can you tell me more? Maybe I have to hear more, and write it down.
Mm-hmm. Ask the thyroid, is it?
Ask to the part that you're speaking to. Do you want to tell me more?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it wants to tell you a narrative or a long story, because now that you're open, and hear it and write it down. Keep it, let it keep expressing. It's all about expression. It's in the thyroid, it's expression. So it wants to come out, and it wants you to hear it. It wants you to see it. So let it come out. That's one. Second, I recommend you do a bit of self-care, salt bath, like Caroline is doing, connect to the trees or
I
nature.
don't have any opportunity to go. I don't have.
Okay, I know. But you know that what you can do is to do it in your apartment, lie on the floor and say, I am on the grass and I'm connected to Mother Earth, and it works. Your body takes it. It works.
As a grounding.
Yeah, you lie on a hard floor, and you say to yourself, I'm now on the grass, and I'm connected to Mother Earth, and please, Mother Earth, and you feel like you're growing into Mother Earth and bringing energy from Mother Earth. I mean, you can do that in your apartment.
Yeah, I can do that.
And-
I'm sorry about the salt. Could you repeat again? I'm sorry. With the normal, like ordinary salt, how much salt do I need?
So typically, if you do in a bathtub, put about 300 grams of salt, normal salt. No fancy salt. You don't need fancy salt. You just need normal, simple salt, and put it into bathtub. 300 grams, 400 grams if you want, and just be there 20 minutes.
Okay, and the foot bath?
And in a foot bath, stay 20 minutes. Put less salt. Of course, you need less. 100 grams, correct. If you're doing a foot bath, put 100. What you can do in a foot bath is see if you can make it into a small little paste with salt, and you can put oil if you want, or water, and you put it on your legs. So not just your foot, but also your legs covered in salt paste. The idea is to detox.
And what would you suggest to do with this suffering which I'm like still carrying on?
And so go back, because it wants to express more. I think it wants. That's why it's still sticky in your throat, is because more has to come out, and let it come. You use the recording, or just as soon as you finish, sit down, ask it to express. You're connected to the part saying, tell me everything you want me to know, and I'm writing it down. And you write. Keep writing. Don't judge. The only thing you have to remember is not to feel angry, upset, etc., or judgmental. You just have to stay curious and compassionate. Then it'll allow you to express, and you'll write. If it makes sense, no sense, it's okay. Just write. It'll make sense to you afterwards. There's a little bit answer to Laura as well, who was asking the question. Okay.
I can ask a question about the suffering.
Yes, correct. Can you express more? But remember how you feel.
Yeah.
If you are feeling it's anger, or you're saying this is bad, then you have to wait, breathe, become compassionate, become at least curious, okay, and then let it express.
Basically step aside, because I might become the part.
You will be the part. That's why if you're feeling the emotion, then you are blended, what they call blended with the part. So you have to step aside, feel curious towards it, and then it'll express, because now it doesn't feel judged or looked down. It feels it can express itself. It's been given the power to express, and then it'll express. And you write. And you write as much as you want to write. And afterward, you can make sense if you want to.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Most welcome. Pierre.
Hi, Manu. Thank
Hi.
you for the session. Yeah, I find it a bit tricky to ask this thing, but I feel I have to.
If you want me to stop recording, I can. Huh?
Yeah. Well, if you can, it would be.
Yeah, no problem.
If you would like to, yeah, I'm comfortable. that, yes. I've kind of written quite a bit about cultural legacy, and a little bit relates to today. So growing up in East End of Glasgow, which is an industrial city in Scotland, Scotland's central belt, there was no expectation beyond the people around me seeing who I was every day. These opinions forced upon me were determined by the mood of the decision makers each and every day, either through angry words or expressions. To become who you could be was never considered, quite possibly because I was not considered. I had no opinion. And the only way out to become myself, at least I thought so, was taking part in sports. Because taking part in sports was a choice I made. Life, however, had another path for me, and it wasn't through sports, because a road accident was one injury I couldn't recover from in a physical sense. The cultural legacy from those around me was quite limiting. It was go to school, get a job, get married, have children, continue the cycle, a cycle they themselves were no doubt conditioned to believe in. The cultural legacy changed after uni, after I did an undergrad course. It was taking the cultural level of childhood to a cultural level of an educated adult who was oppressed by a cultural socio-economic group, when in fact I was oppressed by the socio-economic group, the socio-economic political group, who said through them I would be free. Today in the meditation, I felt quite exhausted at the end of it. And I felt exhausted for a few moments. I couldn't move, and when I did move, I felt laboured. Twice I practiced through the week. I practiced the IFS that was held in early March, going back to that period, and I found it difficult both times. On one occasion, I felt a weight in my stomach. On another occasion, the inner child I met a few months ago and told them they were loved, I met again, and he was angry. I told him he was loved and needed. And at one point, I, visually, I was expressing, come to me. I would keep this person safe. All he had to do was let go of the adult hand holding him. This adult figure has no face. I could go on about this child experience with adults, but it's not for today. Today, the inner child was sitting on a step, feeling unsure. Myself at this time, my head hurt a couple of times during the sound healing. But at another point, I felt great release when encouraged to give out love to the mother. Something which I tried to do over and over this past few years since I've gone no contact. But up until today, I was really unable to. And that's all really.
Beautiful. Okay, so the heaviness is when you do the work sometime, because you're releasing, it's held in your system for so long, so it does feel labored. Many times when I work with people, at the end, 9 out of 10 say, I am exhausted. But then the exhaustion is because of the release more than anything. So do the self-care, the salt bath, etc. This will bring the energy back. The other thing which if I heard you well, is that see if you can continue the dialogues, because you open the channels to all the parts, and you just go one more time back into the legacy burden, because you have cultural legacy burden, like what you spoke about, and see if there is any remnant in your system where the part still has heaviness. If it does, it means it's a little bit like what Carolina had experienced, which is sometime in the legacy and burdening, some of them, quote unquote, did not agree or come in. So this is why you repeat a couple of times, and it's okay, or everybody will come through. Because at the end, nobody would like to carry the burden, because it was not theirs. Okay? And so they all agree progressively to release. And then the part that you are holding on to, which is a part of you which is holding on to that belief, is free. Yeah. And that could shift things in your life. Okay. Yeah, Melanie, go ahead, my dear.
Thank you. My name is Melanie. Would you take this off the recording, Manu?
Yes. Yeah, 1 second. Give me a second. Questions. Okay. Okay, Laura. This is said. Sorry, I'm just looking at questions. What if a part is not giving answers, having intrusive thought, I'm scared? Yeah, so the only way that parts will speak to you is when you don't have its emotion. Because otherwise what we call is blended. You're blended with a part, and then because you're blended with a part, it's not going to tell you. So you have to learn to unblend. In the session we did last time, which was with IFS, one of the technique that I used in that one is to say, if you can take the part and bring it in front of you, you can ask it saying, are you okay that you come here? You feel it in my chest, I feel it in my heart, wherever. Can I be in front of you and now I can have a conversation with you? And know that I am not the part. That's a part that is having that emotion. I am going to work with it and feel compassionate or curious about it. So that helps to what we call unblend. And when it's unblended, then it starts to reveal a lot of things. Okay. Ori, you have a part. After the sound session, the left part of my body felt light, while the right one more solid and heavy. Okay. Well, what can you do? Listen to recording and instruct yourself, saying, well, you know what? This time when you work with the sound, I'm going to send the sound to my right side. You can do that, and it works. Okay. Wilma already. Okay, I've answered to your question. The recording is in the WhatsApp group. Okay. Will I detach from the part more and more often I do a session? Yes. As long as you can practice to be compassionate and curious, then it works. Okay, any tips on how to become aware of limiting beliefs and conditioning? I have a hard time realizing what I hold. Well, okay, so I think I was answering to the question, and it is so your limiting beliefs or conditioning are creating some challenge for you in your life. So if you connect to the challenge, then you will see what parts in you hold that aspect, and then you work like we did today. Is it cultural? Then it is today's session. You can do the previous session if it is trauma or something. So you go from there. So that's how you do. Okay. Caroline, you have raised your hand. You want to ask a question or something?
Yeah, thanks. Just quickly, I wanted to know if, like, as we start getting better at identifying parts, I think it seems like they're getting louder, and want to participate more, and each one wants my full attention and my ear whenever they want it. And it's been making me feel very ungrounded, which is why I think I've needed to, go out and be in nature and things like that. And I took a salt bath before the session. But I
Yeah.
I guess what I've been trying to reassure like myself about is that, well, they just haven't had an opportunity to actually be heard, so it makes sense. And we don't have to record and remember and make sense of all of it. We just need to like let it pass through. But
Yes.
I don't know if I'm just lying to myself or if that's actually good guidance for because I think I'm experiencing a different kind of anxiety than I'm familiar with, and it feels like maybe that's self energy, and parts that are more passionate are speaking up, so and kind of insisting on things. So yeah,
Which is good news. Now, okay, so so first see if it looks like there's a kind of belief that they are going to overwhelm me, and they will not. Because self energy is all compassionate and curiosity. It'll never get overwhelmed at all. I come into the session with a lot of self energy, and any kind of question that you will ask is not going to overwhelm my part of saying, oh God, oh my God, you don't know what to do. Okay. So that's how it works. Okay. So you have to kind of give it credit. Now, what does happen, what probably is happening for you, is that the parts want to be fully heard.
yeah, it feels like I was walking in the woods. I record, like I write it down.
You write notes, right?
Yeah, through
And
my phone. Like I
yeah,
just talk. It's like I have 45 personalities that all have things to say, and I just listen to them and let them say whatever they want. But it feels like
but can you ask them to say one, I'm going to hear only one of you at a time.
I think
All
that's what I need to do because it
all
feels
others go into waiting room. Everybody of you go into waiting room. And I'm standing here. Okay. I'm not going to talk to anybody till all of you go there. I promise I will invite you out of the waiting room. But now you're
okay.
good.
So
That's
No,
what.
oh, somebody's here?
So I've got to channel my like inner Manu.
Correct. Correct. And you can do it. As long as you are, remember, self energy is curiosity, compassion, courage, clarity, connectedness, creativity. I mean, those are those calmness, etc. This is self energy. So as long as you can bring that energy and say, go there, and I promise I will invite you back. When I work with people one-to-one and they come in, I take note and ask, please take note. There's a name. This one came in.
Mm-hmm.
And then before, if you have no time, then we remind to that part, I know you came in. Next time we will start with you.
Okay.
Okay. And if you have time, saying, okay, come back and express. And sometime one of them wants to say, I have to have the voice now. And then you hear it.
Yeah,
And
that
ask to the others and go back to are you okay? You go into waiting room because this one wants my attention.
yeah, okay, because the urgency sort of sometimes feels overwhelming. And I
If you don't
don't,
hear, they will keep overwhelming you
yeah,
because
and
you're not hearing.
okay, and I feel like sometimes my part that I was blended with for most of my life that wants to make sense of everything, sort of, and manage everything and organize everything,
Manager, yeah.
jumps in and is like really uncomfortable with how
All
chaotic.
others are behaving. Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah, this is what it's doing. And so give it a voicing. Thank you, manager, for organizing everything for me. Let me take over, and I'm going to ask all others to go into waiting room, and I will work only with one. Just by you doing it is going to relax. You can do it even now. You can ask it saying, I know where you are. I understand this. I promise I'm going to make all others to go into waiting room while I work with only one.
yeah, the part was like, now that sounds reasonable.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. This is
So
your manager. This is a manager that organizes everything and doesn't want you to go into crisis. So it is, and the anxiety is not because anything going wrong. It's just that it's worried that you're not telling. It's like, if you're a school teacher and you are and you have kids and there are two kids that are good and 12 others are
yeah,
all doing all the jumping. So of course the two others, the ones which are quiet, etc., get very anxious, saying, "Oh, no, the teacher is saying nothing to those guys." Same.
yeah, that's pretty much what it feels like. It's
Yeah.
funny. I drove before I went to the woods, I stopped off at the store to buy file folders and post-it notes. I think so that that part could calm down while I was in the woods.
And so I think what they're also probably telling you is to take note. You do. I know you do a lot of note taking. Uh,
I do.
okay. There's another thing which you can do if you want to do this way. Is to organize in the notes by parts. Okay, you have one page per part, and whatever it wants to say, you go there and you write it down. You can also do that. It
I
works.
was thinking to do that. Sometimes I would just put like hashtag, like what part I think it is, but it's still hard to identify all
Yes,
of.
correct. So I think what they are concerned with, some of them, look the parts, and I think this is why we say keep doing a daily writing exercise for 10 days, and Dick Shorts is very, very insistent on that. It is, and this is same for all of you who've come in today and done some revolution. It's not today that you have completed the healing. It is in the repetition, when it reveals more to you, is when the healing will get really done and is permanent.
Okay.
That's why repeat for 5 days, 10 days, whatever time is okay, but not one time alone.
Yeah, I think my parts are letting me know that that needs to be a priority for sure. Thank
And
you.
they will tell you, they all are. So the whole thing is when they see you committed and organized, which is your manager, and saying, okay, she's done. I don't have to tell her anything. And they all say, she's fair. And she comes back to this one because she took note. I always take notes when I do say, always take notes and said, this one came up, we didn't hear it. Next time we will start with that. Now, as soon as we do that, now the system starts to trust the process. Trust you, trust me in the process. Okay? And then it starts to move.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was in a training last week and complex traumas. There's a guy, Mike, he's brilliant. He's been 50 years into very, 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 very complicated situations and cases. And he was talking and he said something which I think is, to me, is understanding, but he said that it's not the therapist or the practitioner which heals the person. It is the person's self-energy that does the healing, because it rewrites the narrative that has been said from the beginning, from the childhood, from wherever. So that, and this is why he loves. He's done, I don't know, many stuff. Modality says IFS is the only one that works well, because it gives this aspect, which is not the therapist or not the person who is standing doing the healing, is asking to the self of the person to rewrite the narrative. Okay. Thank you, Ori, and thank you for all your messages. And if anybody has any question, no, you have something, Shata? Go ahead, Shat.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you for the session and everybody's questions. I learn a lot from others. What keeps coming up for me is mental health with generational trauma, and I keep talking to that part and trying to co-regulate the nervous system naturally and things like that. But sometimes it comes in so strongly that I need medication, and I'm wondering if it's denial or and sometimes I flee. I go like walking and everything, like it happened quite strongly this morning, just to get out of my head. But now I'm listening a lot to the unburdening and if I'm answering my own question, but
No,
of
I
course
know.
I prefer
I
if you
understand what
had
you're
any
saying.
insight on that.
No, I understand what you're saying. And it's okay. So the part of you that asks you to take a med, don't be upset with it. First, tell it, saying you do correctly, and that's okay. So first, don't judge yourself, or that's okay, because it says, well, I have to take medication because I need to keep you safe. Okay, so the part of you that makes you take medication, do not be angry, upset, or etc. with it. Just say thank you, you do it. In the meantime, let me then find a way by which I don't need to do it. I don't need to burden you so that you then have to ask me to take the medication. So that's one dialogue that you can have with yourself, exactly in this way, but compassionate. Now, the part of you that holds the legacy cultural burden, just check and keep going into recording, just checking that you are not, and what we just said before, you're not the part. You're able to separate yourself from the part that holds that energy and then work with that. If you find yourself blended, or you are the part, which means you feel its emotion, energy, then you have to stop, wait, allow it to be in front of you so that you can look at it saying, I understand you are carrying the burden, and so can I help you? And so, and sometimes it takes some practice to do that, but just keep pushing. And the one that asks you to take medication, don't be angry or upset with it. Saying, good, you do your job well. I appreciate, because you keep me safe. Okay. In the meantime, let me work with this. So you see, what you're doing is you're bringing more self-energy rather than guilt or shame because, oh, I cannot do this, etc. Because that's what it does. Because then you can't help. So self-energy is, it cannot judge anything wrong. I mean, the example I was telling you of this guy, Mike, I mean, he worked with people that did horrible things, and on purpose. And he had to find those parts of him, or those people that did what they said was bad, and then go into it and find that actually the intention was correct. It was why they did it came from a place or wherever it fed. And so I'm talking about an extreme story, but this one is part of you, which is making you do medication, etc. So see if you can bring some love and compassion to it, and not guilt or
Right.
anger and
Right.
shame.
Yes.
So it can relax a
Yes.
bit, saying, "Oh, she understands. We are doing right. I'm not held guilty or angry because I took the medication. No, it is right to do.
Right.
Okay. However, now I'll work with something that doesn't trigger me, so that you wake up, and it's like you have a watchdog who sits on your fence, and if somebody touches the fence,
Mhm.
he's going to bark. Okay, that's his programming. So
Right.
can I avoid that somebody touches the fence so it doesn't bark? That's what you can do, right? So use that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, I understand, and I don't judge it, but then because I'm not taking medication, but the voice keeps on coming saying maybe I should,
Should take,
because I
but
always
listen to it.
tell,
But listen to it still. Listen to it. If it's telling you to take,
right, but I
it
don't have
also
to listen to it and take it. That's what you mean, right? Because sometimes that's what the guilt does. It's like, am I shaming
yes,
if myself, I do take medication, and
correct.
should I listen to the voice?
Listen to
But
the
I'm still
voice.
not.
But if you, because what you are probably doing exactly what you said. So but it's the same voice, the one that wants to do, and you have a relationship with it, which is not of compassion and at all. Okay, it is of judgment,
Okay.
some form of judgment. So see if you can change the relationship so it relaxes, because
Okay.
it's afraid, which means when you ask a question, what are you afraid would happen if I don't take medication? It's going to tell you a list of fears it has.
Yes. Of course
Okay,
it does. Yes.
there you go. So if you hear it and you validate it and saying, I understand you're here for my good purpose,
Hmm.
then it will start to relax and not go and come and pound you for taking medication.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Corinne, you're back.
Yes, hello. I had a feeling. I knew, you guys would still be here. So my question is, one thing that I'm noticing as I'm getting more in touch and I seem to be getting better. I'm on day 19 of like good days in a row, and that's not the exclusion of bad things happening, but it's not hitting me, like going below the water, is the way I describe it. But I do know it brings up anxiety and stress about how am I going to get things done. And yeah, like just being able to focus and continue to make progress. And, like in the back of my mind, it's like, okay, you're doing it, you're getting there, but I'm still not going for like the bigger things that I really need to be focused on. And I feel the anxiety building up. Um, so I don't really know how to pull it apart to get stuff done.
So ask it, so this could be the one that wants things to be done. See if it is, what is it holding for you?
Mhm.
Is it truly asking you to get things done, or it is holding an energy from somewhere else that wants you to have things done? This is not you, and hence it creates the anxiety because it's not getting done. So you see that
Mm.
that loop that you can run. So the question you have to ask is it mine or is it coming from somewhere? So connect to this part of you that wants you to do things, and then ask it the question like we did today. Is it cultural?
Well, the minute you said it, it was coming from somewhere else, was like an instant answer. Yay. It's always fun when it's not,
There you
because
go.
that would also
There you
why it's like, why can't I just do this? Why can't I just move. Like I'm putting everything into the right pieces to go.
Because it's not yours. It's not yours. Yeah, correct. So
So
then
it's
work
so
through it, get it out, release it, and then something else will come in, which is yours.
okay. So, but in order to release it, should
You do it
what
today.
does your gut say? Cultural release or legacy? Because they're kind of
Start
the same.
start with cultural. Start with cultural. And it may,
Okay.
I saw somebody say today, and when I did cultural, actually it went into my grandparents. Somebody was saying that one. So, and that could be the case. Because
Okay. So,
the
all right.
difference between cultural and legacy and burning, I saw in the process, is actually none. Okay. And the only thing is you open the door saying it doesn't come from parents, it actually comes from your school or your religion, or like Caroline case came from women that she took on, or her mother had taken on, etc. So you will discover.
Okay, that's helpful. So you're basically going to post the cultural release again today so I can run through it tonight before I come up with an excuse to not do it. Okay. I actually feel a little bit clearer in my head when you asked those questions because the answer came so fast. I didn't have to dig for it because I have been thinking a lot. I feel like I was preparing for today's session for the past couple of days. A lot of stuff with my grandmother came up, and I know they have had tremendous fear that I would be ashamed of my upbringing as I grew, like when I went to college. And it was like nothing I said could reassure them that I came home, that I got mad when they would try to take. I was telling a friend, I cried because they took me to an IHOP instead of like homemade food. I was like, why am I in an IHOP? What is going on here? You don't love me the way you used to. And then they realized I really wanted, they got out the barbecue, the sofrito, like all the proper foods. Cause I was like, why did I get on a plane and you took me to a pancake house? Like, what's going on? But they always had that fear, like if I would go to college or, even though there was no evidence of it. And they always put that on me. Even me going back to farming has really brought a lot of that up. But my grandmother was the one that took me foraging as a child to teach me about plants. So I just didn't understand where their stress came from about these things because I was never participating in it. And no matter what I said, they didn't hear it. And I was just like, and it's always going back to zero. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if we do the work, it doesn't stick. And that is something I feel on myself too. It's like, I reassured them, we've made progress, we had wonderful family time. And then next month we're here again. Like, how do we make it stick? And that's the pattern I see in myself.
There you go.
So is the work figuring out which relative this started with and going and talking to them and having a, so to speak, come to Jesus talk and be like, I need you to let go of this because
So
it's a
in the
lot.
process, it asks whoever came saying, "Are you okay to let go?" They all will be happy to let go because it's a burden.
I'm telling you, man, they're messing with my good time and my progress over here. Okay, but this helps. I knew you guys would still be here. So thank you so much for that. And I will start talking to these people and hopefully the relative, because it really is weird. Do you know what I mean? It's weird that when you're proud, I've never not been proud of my family, like for our heritage, our culture.
Yeah, and that's what you are here to change for yourself first.
I don't know.
Yeah, I understand.
I just don't understand how people are ashamed of the people that survived that.
Because this was one of the reasons why cultural burdens, from what I understood, are there is because somewhere up the line, it was the only way for them to survive. So they built that belief. Everything is about survival, if you look at that. But at that time, if you take this story, what Caroline was saying that group of women saying that, why would they say it? Is because that made them survive.
Yeah, I had to log off. I heard what Carolyn was saying right before I got off, and I was very appreciative of that. And I know it always goes back to survival, even in my own challenges. You're afraid of not being able to live through this experience, but I
Yeah,
always tell my
think-
students they survived 100% of their bad days. Like,
correct. All burdens are coming from. That's why in the process, yourself is asking, what are you afraid of? Because that gives you an understanding saying, oh, I never thought that this is why you do this, because you're afraid of that. And when did you start doing? Oh, when I was a 5-year-old. What happened when you were 5-year-old? This happened. Oh, now I understand why you can have built that belief because of that happened, and you're stuck in time.
but
So
then Manu, I would say if
this
they
is
were
this,
so afraid of the survival, why did they give it to me? If they were so afraid I turn away from it, why did they raise me with it?
but
If they were
again,
expecting me to reject it.
okay, so the thing is that all cultural burdens are not your mom, or like the case which is what Caroline said, her mom was not aware that she was giving it to Caroline at all. But this is how she lived. And all legacy burdens which are passed generation to generation are not that somebody comes and says, oh, I want to do bad to you, and so I give you. No, this is what they have lived it, and they had no idea that they have a way or they have a choice not to go forward living in it and changing it for the back, and they pass it to the next generation. You pass it to your next generation. Not because you want to do, but because you talk about it everywhere. You use words from that belief. Don't go out at night. This will happen. Don't do this because you're going to get hurt. Don't. So what happens? You build the belief and you believe in that. But they are not done because they want to do harm to you. They are done because they are afraid what they were told was afraid what the other ones were told. So that's why they are all generational.
Well, I follow that logic in so many ways. Where it breaks off for me is, why teach me my culture if you don't want me to follow or honor it, or me to have a decision? The best way would be to erase it completely. So I never really understand. I don't have any good. I don't know if there is a good answer for that. It's like, I'm going to teach you how to swim, but don't go swim. And I say that because I don't know how to swim, but it just doesn't make sense. Why would you teach me to take care of the earth if you didn't want me to do it? So that's just me talking. I don't know if there's really a good answer for that, but I do. Yes, a lot of things come from fear and survival, and some of it sounds like good common sense, just to keep you safe. And then it just becomes, the brain can't distinguish. It all goes in the same bucket.
There's another story where is in some cases you are excluded from being family, society, religion, whatever, if you don't follow. So it's also used as a way to, and so you build mechanics to say, well, to be accepted, I need to buy into that belief and that
I
thing.
follow that.
Okay.
That happened to other people in the family because they only pass down certain traditions, and it's through the grandmothers, and only
Right.
to one female, and typically the eldest, but I'm the youngest. And there was resentment for that from my older sister, but that's really not my burden, because you still have to do the work
Right.
to have the gift. You just don't get it because you popped out a year earlier. Yeah, it's so fun, my family. I guess no, this definitely helps lift up my energy and ease quite a bit of the anxiety that I've been feeling, because it's really hard when you don't understand it. You just feel like you're running in circles instead of running forward. And I've been thinking a lot about that. I've been thinking, like, well, even though I'm doing all these things right, where is this like overwhelm coming from that's keeping me from making the progress I want to make, even if things are moving forward in the right direction, I still feel like I need to go take a nap. That's my go-to. Go to sleep. Just go to sleep. I don't know. Thank you so much for this chit chat in addition to the session, and I will listen to the cultural legacy and try to figure out who did it. I'll just go down
More
the line
than
and
who
talk
did
to
it,
them.
allow it to be free. Who did
Well,
it
we
is
gotta
okay.
find them first. See if they have anything else they need to say
Yeah,
in the conversation. But
yeah. Help
it'd be
them.
nice to feel the support of my ancestors. Do you know what I mean? To fully feel their support instead of like, what's going on with y'all? Like there's just a lot of, we have the most freedom now, but it's so far away from actual freedom that could be. So
There
I
you
get it.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your questions. And see you next time.